Hey man, likewise. Yeah,
I'm curious how it's going to go because I'm routing my Ableton into the Neve, right? And then coming back into Ableton. And then we're also going to be on Zoom, where typically I have to change the output of Ableton to Zoom for you to hear anything. So we'll have to see how this kind of like goes. But usually I have to click Zoom as the output, where therefore if the Apollo interface is not the output anymore, we can't get into the Neve. But what I did was I also pre-printed both the Neve print and the regular print, I guess, of just the in the box mix.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to know how you're routing things and show you how I'm routing things. I'll start with mine if that's cool.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so right now, I'm just taking all my my vocals and I'm going out 7 and 8 into the Neve, and all the music in general out 9 and 10 into the Neve, and then basically just my kick and my bass drum out of 5 and 6. So no order, just randomly built these groups so that as I'm making a track, like I can try out. Like I've already like kind of realized with this song, I might want a new kick drum. So I just put in a brand new kick drum until I'm happy, and it's already routing through the Neve and then coming back into my 1 and 2 on my basically I just use my main for this.
What devices are you using? You're using Apollo, and that has all the outputs, or
The all the outputs are going out Apollo, and then it goes to the Neve, and then the Neve has the 1 and 2 bus coming back in to the
yeah.
Apollo. So here what I'll do is yeah, I mean it's yeah, because if I play this I'm sure you won't be able to hear it. Let me see, let me try it. Were you able to hear that at all?
Barely.
Barely. Oh yeah, that's probably just because it's coming through my headphone a little bit. So, but if I
Yeah, yeah.
switch it to the Zoom output, obviously, then you should be able to hear it once I turn on something that it's actually going to. So let's see, turn that on. 1 second. Neve print, that's on. That's interesting. Maybe. Why wouldn't that play? I went to Zoom output. Let's see if you can hear really quickly this, just so I know that we're on some sort of right page. Hold on. Oh, that's why. Let me do this real quick. Take this off of sound ID reference. All right, let's see if this works now. Nope, of course. Of course, off to a rough start. This stuff is confusing to me in general. Especially when it comes. Oh, I know why. Jeez. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I have to share my screen. How dumb. Okay. Honestly, it's Zoom that gets confusing for me. It's obviously like the routing from a box to another unit. Like an analog world is like, sometimes it can get complicating, but for the most part, can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's start that kind of again. So you should be able to hear, that.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
kind of clipping.
it's probably definitely clipping. So But yeah, so that's what I was kind of saying is like, as you can see now, the screen, like I have my vocals going out a channel, my music all going out a channel, and my kick and bass going out a different channel. And it's all the group is going out, right? So that when I'm producing or I'm making something, I can just throw a new kick drum or a bass line into this group and it's already going to the Neve and back. If I'm going to add more musical elements, I'll just throw it into this group and it's already routing out to the Neve and then coming back. If it's more vocals that I'm doing, it'll go to the Neve and come back. And then that way I'm kind of like always just, producing as I go through those three channels, sometimes four channels of the
That's
Neve,
nice.
and then it comes back and it's nice. But the problem I'm having personally, and only in Ableton, which is my preference of producing, is like when I'm doing this, I can't solo the group or
Yeah,
anything.
I remember you told me that, and I've been thinking about it because I told you I never had that problem, but my routing at the moment is not that sophisticated at all. I'm I'm running everything through my 5057 and just basically using it like a soft clipper
Okay, so are you
before I
just
start mixing.
running the two bus, like the main mix through it?
Yeah, and
Oh,
I have been thinking about going a different route like you are doing,
yeah.
but
Like what
and
I'll do is I'll play it like this just to see if you'll be able to hear it. I still don't think you will because it's going through now the Neve again, but let's just see. Were
no,
you, no, not at all. Okay.
just
Well,
the headphone.
just the headphones. Yeah. So basically, the only way that I can get around that is let me just double check. All right. So this is what I do. Instead of using the main, I have the main. Basically, I should have it off. Like there's nothing at all going to the main. Let me turn it completely off there. Then I have
Mm.
this. Oh, I do have the main on. That's weird. Okay, hold on. So I have this like this track right here, which is an aux track basically, where I have put it external in one and two, right? And then I put in. So if you turn that off, you don't hear anything at all. Now, if I solo it though, and then I hold Command on Apple on Mac, and then I solo another track, now I can hear that group soloed. Or if I'm holding Command and I just want to hear the bass line, I can hold Command as long as the main aux, the summing Neve is actually soloed, then I can press play. And if you go back and watch YouTube right now, you'll hear that the bass is soloed. So it's that part is annoying, I will admit. Like, in Pro Tools, it's pretty easy. You just do solo safe mode, right? You'd set this to solo safe, and then no matter what you solo, it should be fine. But in Ableton, they don't really have that. So, anyways, that's just kind of like my issue that I'm trying to sort out. I've tried some really complex ways to try to make it work. Like what I did was I put on I did like a compressor in here, and then let's see. So I made a chain, and then I did like a side chain. I turn off the filter, do a side chain to like just the vocals, right? And then I do basically if I click, where is it? This right here, this little the blue headphones.
Yeah,
That's technically a solo safe. Like that's Delta mode. All you're hearing is what's going through there. So if I do that and say this is the vocals, and then if I do this and say it's the music, and then I route this one to the music, let's find that.
smart.
Boom. And then if I route this one to the K and B, the kick and bass, let's see. Then what I can essentially do is while I'm playing the track,
Two shots, don't skip on it.
I could solo my vocals right here. And if you rewatch the YouTube video, you'll hear that there's just the vocals. Here's just the music. Here's just the kick and the bass. You'll probably also hear, if you watch the video, and anybody that is watching the video, that you're hearing a doubling. And that's because the master is, going live through my UAD console here, right? And I have it on mute and it's down, my line input for the 1 and 2. But for some reason, I guess it still reads it on OBS and my streaming software as the natural output. So you're hearing both the real time, because there's latency coming back from the Neve a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So you're hearing a little bit of the Neve coming back naturally, and then you're also hearing the OBS software catching my 1 and 2 output after Ableton. So that's kind of a little annoying too when it comes to live streaming the workflow of this. Like I tried making a video the other day of just like how I do it, and yeah, I mean, it definitely has, until I can figure out a great solution. Like the problem with this solution right here with the solos and stuff is I've noticed that like again, you won't be able to hear this, but if I hit play right now and then I turn it off, hold on. Why doesn't that work? That's so weird. I think I need to make a new chain that just has a through output. Here we go. Nope. No idea. Let me just turn this whole thing off and see if that... Oh, it's because it's solo, duh. Okay, we're getting there. So if I turn this off, and then I turn this on again and solo something. It sounds just a little different for some reason when I turn this on and off. So it's like...
Even through the headphones, I hear it.
Yeah, right. It's just like lower volume or something. It's like, I don't really understand exactly what it is that's changing that. Maybe it's because of the compressor's sidechain thing. Like the mix is at 100. Maybe I need to like take the mix down to 50. That makes no sense though. Obviously you would want the mix at 100. Maybe I need to take the gain down. I turned off the sidechain filters, so there should be no filtering going on. So if I can just get that to work better, then I would be happy with the workflow of this. And soloing everything just down here as I work, because I really only need to hear these elements personally soloed when I'm working, right? So, I mean, it's definitely, like, obviously it'd be nice to have, like, a huge, like, SSL, like, 24 channel board or something like that, or 50 channel board, and just, like, work that way. But in my opinion, that would even get more complex, though, because now you're dealing with recall on a whole board, and that's what I like about the Neve 57 is, like, there's really only a few things going on. Like, if I put, say my vocals are at 7/8, then if I come back to the session and I need to go on a plane and work on it, I just take it out the main, right, on all these tracks, and I'm just like, okay, I can start working without my Neve. And then if I want to bring it back, it's like, okay, easy. I remember that this is just written down as 7/8. This is external out 9/10, boom. And then the kick and bass is external out 5/6. And then I just remember that I want my kick and bass soloed or monoed, so I would just click in my mono, and then maybe I would write like a little note that says like it's Neve blue at 50%, with the trim -3 or something, like, and I would just like, it's like you got like a few options, right? You don't have like this huge recall system like the other Neves and stuff and SSLs. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of like my thing right now, how I like using it. And I kind of try, I don't know if people read the bio and stuff, but like I definitely don't do this all the time. Like a lot of the times I stay in the box. Like this is for when I'm really into a song or I'm finalizing something and I'm just like, ooh, let's see how much further we can take this. And I did it like you do for a while too, where I was just like, can I just put it through the bus, the two
Yeah.
bus, and then just put on the silk mode or something, and like, bada bang, like I get the circuitry sound and everything. It's like, I feel like yes, that did happen. I can hear a difference, but everything was getting distorted that way because it was already cooked going in.
Yeah.
Whereas when I do it kind of like this, I feel like every choice I'm making throughout the entire process is now being colored by the Neve and everything. So it turns into a totally different sound. And the best way I think I can explain that is I'll take it back to the so you could hear it, right? So let's go back, and this blue track right up here when I solo it is what the Neve sounds like. And then this is when I just don't change anything at all in the mix, and I just changed all the outputs to the main. And it's like pretty subtle, but at the same time, I feel in certain areas it's not. It makes it's total sense. Like, funny enough, I do think that the main of going out the in the box mix that's pink down here is almost wider when I first hit play. Like, listen, and then we'll go to back to the Neve. But I feel like the Neve has more depth of the soundscape in general this way, where like the kick and of course the kick and bass is like way more present in the Neve because I have it summed to mono and like the Neve blew up a little bit, right? So like listen to the kick in the Neve. Like you could really hear the kick in the bass line, but then on here it's kind of masked by everything else. And again, this is just one test of running what, like basically 33 tracks through the unit, all making decisions as I'm going. I've noticed that this changes all the time. Sometimes I'll actually like the in the box mix more when I switch it back to the in the box, just because it wasn't my choices. Funny enough, I'm just like, oh, like now it sounds like somebody else mixed this record. And then sometimes I'll be like, no, yeah, like that's what I initially thought with this one. I was like, oh wait, I kind of like how wide and how present the vocals and all the synths are on the in the box mix. But then I was starting to take it to the car in different places, and I was like, no, like the Neve one hits harder and just feels more like a finished solid record on all the systems, and it has that like what I'm calling depth of like the kick and the bass are super present. They feels like they're like mono, like truly mono, and have their own space in the mix. And then everything else, the vocals and synths are just like doing their own things in their own little space. And that's where I feel like I'm hearing the Neve do a lot of work. So, but when I obviously when you do that, when you just run your mix through it, like, and you've already finished your mix, I feel like that's kind of it's an option for sure, but it's like Armageddon at that moment, right? Like you're
Yeah.
like let's go ahead and just like see if we can get something out of what's already there. Whereas this approach is kind of more like how people use the consoles in my opinion and stuff. So anyways, like so tell me more about your workflow. I'm curious.
Yeah, like I said, I basically just use it as a soft clipper at the
As a
end.
soft clipper.
And I start trying it out when I'm close to finishing a track. And yeah, but like 9 times out of 10, it does some little thing that I prefer
Yeah, yeah.
over over in the box
I,
sound. So
I definitely feel like it always, yeah, like 9 times out of 10, it does something that I prefer, whether I do it your way or this way.
yeah,
And like there's always something about it that just feels a little bit more magical and it works. But you were saying you don't have like, for some reason, what is it? Your signal right and left isn't clipping red ever.
No.
So I'm curious about that. Like, do you have on the output in the back or the in? I'm sorry, the inputs. Did you put them in the -6 dB?
No, I didn't. I
They're in
have
the
it on the
regular.
normal ones.
Okay, the normal. Yeah. And then I
So
guess my other question is like, do you, because you're putting this in as a two bus track, right?
yeah,
Like, it kind of makes sense to me that if I were to put in a two bus track right here and it was already limited and stuff like that,
yeah.
it wouldn't necessarily clip as easily. I'm sure. I mean, it would still clip as you keep the trim obviously up all the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trims up. Your texture, do you just throw your texture at max?
I play around with it. Sometimes it's barely on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just try out what fits the song.
And I mean, I guess it would just depend on what your levels are going in. Like I tend to produce really loud
Yeah, I
anyways.
have experimented with it. I have tried just putting in loud transients
Yeah.
with transient designers making them loud, but it doesn't really go to red. I don't really know what I'm doing wrong, but I definitely see when I record things back inside the box, I see it's affecting the transient. I can
Sure.
see it visually.
Okay. So it might
So
just be like an actual like
I'm
just
not sure. I got the device. I contacted Neve at some point, and I used to have like a cheaper interface. I had yeah, I contacted that company. They helped me out, but yeah, I just
what
went with it.
what interface do you have right now?
Uh, uh, the Fireface 802. Yeah, I just got it.
Fireface 802. I'm just gonna look at something real quick. I'm curious if I chat GPT it real quick. Hold on. Fireface. Sorry, what are the numbers? Fireface what?
802.
802. Okay. Let's see. I just asked, does the Fireface 802 have some sort of clipper or limiter built in? No, it doesn't. Yeah, may actually not be out. Could be RME. So I guess my other question is when you throw in a transient kind of thing, like I can throw in a transient right now, and like this kick drum is clearly here. Let me go back so you can actually hear this. Oh, we're already on Zoom. Perfect. So obviously I need to do this now. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
So if you are just working with this one, so also just so people know in general, like so when I come back into this summing aux with my Neve output, it'll come in, but then after that I master.
yeah, yeah,
I don't let the 5057 orbit do my fine. It's not my final stage.
yeah.
It's
Same.
kind of like an in between spot. So then I'm like pumping stuff even further after that. Not a lot usually. Like I think God Particle is just at like, like 2 dB of gain. And I have a EQ just to like retilt some stuff. Once I heard that my mix on through the Neve was a little too warm and there was enough high end compared to the other mix when I just took everything out main
Yeah.
in the box, I was like, oh, I kind of do want some of that, so I just boosted all that to compensate. And then I think I just put this on at the end, and it has literally it's doing nothing besides just kind of a little bit of a. I like the clipper that's built into this mastering plugin. But anyways, like if I were to turn all of that off, let's listen really quickly. Because again, I haven't heard your music. I don't know your genre, but like, let's see. Now all that's so funny. We just had volume and then now we don't. Oh, because it's going through here. Okay. So if I turn this off, It's still pretty loud, but I guess my question is are you using like if you're doing like acoustic music, say like
No,
Folklore
I'm
by
doing
Taylor Swift,
pretty
pretty heavy
loud
stuff?
mix downs most of the time.
What's that?
I'm most of the time I'm making pretty loud mix
Oh,
downs.
okay. Yeah, then I don't know. I
So
think it's probably just like a weird, like, luckily you can hear it. I'd rather be able to hear it and know that it's printing through the
yeah,
Neve than care about looking at the red. Like, I personally don't look at the red ever on there, and I don't even care because, and sometimes I will admit it kind of makes me have to do an adjustment at the end because my system, how I have it set up, is like going through the Neve. Every time I go through the Neve with my speakers, which I have like these Focal ST6s, which are pretty good, like I can over blow and redline everything like crazy and it sounds so good in here. And then I can take it to like, a streaming service or even just like my iPhone and just listen to it or a car and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this is blown out. Like I've overdone it way, way too much. Like even you just said, you're like, that mix is like way overdone. And I've noticed this too with Zoom's output. It can't handle nearly as much as like Spotify and everything else like that. Funny enough, and I still find a lot of people don't know that Spotify naturally comes with this particular compression on it's a button on settings called normalization,
hmm
and it naturally comes with that turned on. So it normalizes everybody's mix with a limiter or a compressor, and not until you turn that off do you actually get the true sound of whoever produced and mixed and mastered the song. So that's why you get like and all these dubstep guys like Subtronics or Illenium and like Excision have these hugely wildly like overblown mixes that are 15 dB above red and they sound good on this on either setting whether it's normalized or not. And I've found that that's kind of interesting, whereas like Zoom and YouTube and even like Instagram and all these algorithms, it's like they can't handle that at all. So, but anyways, that's even super simple. All I have to do is just turn it down at the end, like until it's not clipping, right? And
yeah,
to
and
a
also
certain extent.
check the true peak levels, right? You have to
Exactly.
be
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I've kind of found a place where I like things to clip quite a bit like that. Like if I'm not using the Neve, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably hitting the red really, really hard. If it's house music like this, it'll probably hit the red like +3 or +4, maybe +6. If it's dubstep, it's straight up +10, +12, +15. If it's pop, maybe +2 to +6, but still I'll probably just limit it at the end if it's pop. So it just stays green. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. I think it's like helpful to chat about this stuff because not since I was working at Paramount and like on the SSL boards and everything, did I have a community that we can talk about things and like if there was a problem, I can call in a senior engineer or something and be like, hey, like why is this blah blah. Then like Tom would come in and be like, oh duh, it's this, like you just need to make sure that this is routed correctly or that you do this and blah blah blah. And that obviously only worked on the gear that they had, and downgrading to a certain extent of just like input levels or input numbers and output numbers of like a smaller unit like the 5057, and I'm only using about like 3 to 4 channels at the end of the day. No, I don't know anybody else that really has this unit and just like talk about it. So it's kind of nice just to have a chat. But I would suggest give it a shot. Try it like this. Like
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell me, when you change up your workflow, going from using it like I do, basically just as a coloring unit at the end, to the workflow you have now, where you're producing into the box, did you have to buy another hardware device for the routing, or
no,
how did you?
no, I'm literally only using my interface, which is the Apollo X8 UAD. That's it. And and it's going through the computer, and then it's going straight to the out to the 5057 orbit, and then back into the computer through the same interface. So it's the simplest setup. Like, funny enough, I made that video and stuff. I don't really like a lot of outboard gear. Just what I need, because it just it does bog down after a while. Like, if I had like a culture vulture, or not a culture vulture, I forget what it's called, but there's like this really good mastering plug, or not plug-in, piece of gear out
Black
there.
box.
Black box. Say I use the black box. Like, now I have to kind of like double check my workflow through 2 unit settings, and like the black box has a lot of settings on it, and like recall, and that to me is just crazy. And I do at that point agree that like you don't really need one. And then sometimes I don't want the sound of the black box. Sometimes I want the sound of ozone. Sometimes I want the sound of pro limiter by Fab Filter. So yeah, I keep it super simple. I'm just running out the interface into the channels, and then the routing is what gets me back into Ableton. And I gotta admit, it does sometimes change. Like, and sometimes like, and it's, I blame this more on just my neglection of like detail. Sometimes I'll set up a session, because I usually set up sessions from blank. I don't have a template or anything. And
Yeah.
I'll do this and I'll miss a step, and I'll sit there for like 5 minutes and be like, what the hell am I doing wrong? And like, it's not sounding, even you saw me in this video. I'm like, oh, what the heck? Oh, it's because remember I have this like
Yeah.
weird little way to solo things, like, and if it's not working out after 5 minutes, I'll just literally cut the crap, and I'll just be like, let's just go back to in the box right now, and let's get this idea down, or like do what needs to be done today. But when I'm like in my flow, and I'm like working on the Neve for a while, like I'll go a couple months with like using it, and then I'll be like, you know what, I want a little bit more of that in the box freedom. I'm gonna go back to in the box completely. And then I'll start being like, yeah, my mixes are sounding okay, but like, I wonder if I go back to my Neve again. Then I'll start doing kind of like what you do, where it's like, I'll just take the two bus out and I'll just double check it. Can it be better? And then I'll be
Yeah.
like, yeah, it can. I'm like, fuck, all right, let me just reroute everything. And then I'll sit there and be like, shit, what if I just produce the whole thing through it? And then I'm like, well, and then I kind of set this routing up, and I'm back and I'm ready to go. Cause like, this routing can go a few different ways. Like, it doesn't need to be what you see here, where all of it goes out to the Neve and then back into this little sub augs, and then still with the main on. And I mean, there's nothing on this main right now, it's all turned off. I only had this on because I wanted a true A B, what the in the box would sound like versus, right? So I just took everything that's on this master channel. It's like my summing Neve master, basically, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty simple. Just set up groups, and then just make sure that you label them correctly so that you know, and then figure out what elements you have in your song. I try to keep it as small as possible. Also, because I have some drums going into the other inputs, and I don't like changing those, because again, I'm kind of lazy with this, and I don't have a patch bay. I'm just like, I don't really need that right now. Maybe I do in the future, but so I'm just like, what 3 channels do I have open that are stereo? Cool, it's these. And then I'm just like, let's do vocals, music, and then all my low end stuff like kick and bass. That seems easy enough, and especially with the kind of problem that I do have with soloing, the less is better in that sense than a 16 track system of that. Like, if I'm in Pro Tools and just doing a mix, then yeah, I'll definitely like spend the time probably to like run everything out each channel and use everything I can off of the orbit. Funny enough, I feel kind of stupid too. When I first got this, I got this like 5 years ago. I only thought, because in the front you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Where and you
Yeah.
have the monos. I thought for a while that it, like, that was my 8 channels. I didn't know that it had 16.
Yeah, because yeah, you have double that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have double that, and those are just the ones that you can turn mono. So like,
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious when I called my rep and I was like, I wish I had more channels. And he's like, you do. I was like, oh, okay. So anyways, yeah, it's pretty simple. I just make the group. Obviously, we both know everything that goes into the group comes out of the group. So you just load up anything that's a vocal into there. I will say it gets a little funky sometimes where if I'm recording stuff in like guitars or vocals, I have
Yeah.
to mind the latency, right? So that can I kind of do that two ways. If I keep obviously my buffer size like really down to like honestly I have to take it down to like 64 to not notice when I go to the Neve and back. So I'll do that sometimes, or I'll just keep it at 128, but I'll sometimes even when I'm singing into it or playing guitar into it, I'll just turn the whole channel off and I won't hear anything besides my voice out in the room. I'll take like a headphone off and I'll just sing in that way. Or or I will play the guitar and just listen to what I'm doing on the actual guitar in the room rather than the whole sound. But that's only sometimes if the session's starting to get really big and it's starting to like create a lot of latency. Usually, to get like a 50 track idea started, I can just like monitor everything coming out the Neve and then just like play with the color a little bit, go back and forth from blue and red, and mono my kick and bass if I want to. Sometimes I don't, and then it just comes back in here. I start after a while putting on some mastering stuff to see how it's going to sound after that, and then 9 times out of 10 everything's groovy and I print it and I'm ready to go. One time out of 10 I did something messed up and I have to like go back and turn something down or like regain stage a little bit. But yeah, I mean it's super. I think it's super worth it. Time to time. Obviously it's easy when somebody sends me a mix. Like I don't have to
Hmm.
worry about anything like recording anything in guitar, vocals, drums, or anything. Everything's already right there. So it's like usually if that's the case, it's pretty easy to just like get everything started and going. And if it's an organized session that I really only need to bust things out through and it vocals, music, and kick and bass, great, I'll do that. If for some reason the client really wants like everything specifically bust out to all 16 channels, I'll just go to Pro Tools and like just bust it like they want me to or something and tweak from there. But I tend to just more times than not just do it through the group because that's really all I'm after at the end of the day is that just whatever the separation between the channels are in the Neve. And in my head I'm thinking too that like look, if I have vocals, backing vocals, harmonies all in my vocal group and they're all going to different channels of the Neve, right? It's going to take a lot more for me to push it into the Neve first off to get the clipping. Like I'm gonna have to really like drive it, which isn't necessarily always what I want to do, especially if I'm just after the circuitry separation. I will say like yeah, if I'm working on like a gospel section of a song and there is a ton of stuff, like that could be super useful because then all of a sudden like you can mono that lead and the lead effects
Mm.
and then you can have your wide group chants super wide and you can drive those a little bit, then you can have your harmonies less driven and on another channel. Obviously I feel like there's no reason not to go big and separate everything. Like if you have the time and the people have the budget and or you have the reason you want to do it, go for it. But like I also found it does work too where if I just put all those vocals into one out like 7 and 8, I'm getting closer to like maxing out the clipping ability of it, and it's running the channel pretty hot. And at the end of the day, if I did a good job inside here, where I can load any plugin, like I can. This is obviously a very simple track. It was a 2 track of a vocal that has all the harmonies and stuff baked into it, so that was the only reason. But like I could go ahead if I had harmonies down here on this track that I'm turning white right here. Obviously, I can put a limiter on it, saturate it, imaging. Like if those were all the backgrounds, like go crazy using plugins, and then all of it just goes out the 7 and 8. And then now my vocals are just ready to be separated from the music, and the music is ready to be separated from the kick and the bass. And
Nice.
I get in my opinion, that because I do agree with some of what people, are alluding to on the comment section of like, oh, like that's just extra work and like it bogs down. It's like, of course, every choice you make bogs down the idea of conceptual writing, right? Like, even throwing plugins on half the time, these like the thing that bugs me the most is sometimes I'll throw on plugins these days that I've paid hundreds of dollars for and it crashes all the time. Like, like that pisses me off more than a little bit of confusion for 5 minutes just setting up routing or not being able to solo something. Like if I can't get what I need done when I solo just the vocals and I need to solo just like one vocal, then I feel like technically I probably shouldn't be at the stage of the song or the recording to be running through the Neve anyways.
Yeah.
Like that's like I should be melodyning and like doing stuff that like there's no reason to be running through the console yet. So yeah, anyways, that's kind of like my thing. I'm just trying to honestly, the reason why I also made the videos is just because I'm trying to play around with content.
Yeah.
I had no like I mean, I guess I did care about this subject because I love the Neve and it does make me happy when it does something extra. But I'm kind of just like I think that these days we need to have content out there to get more clients, to like let people know what we're doing or to share the music or a message or the whole social media world is, for better or for worse, like so important to have a presence on in this type of industry. And I'm just like, me and my wife were chatting and she's like, why don't you just make more videos about the gear that you have and stuff? I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I was just like, kind of like, blah, blah, blah. And then I looked it up. I straight up went on Chat GPT. I asked my buddy because he does content videos pretty well. And I was like, how do you do it? And he's like, I just go into like Chat GPT and I say, this is the video I want to make. What would be a good hook? What would be a good thing to talk about during this? How do I set it up? And then it gave me like that little kind of like hook, like, well, my mixes sound different than a computer because of this. And I was like, okay, perfect. I'll use that. I agree with that. Fine. And then I was like, and then it said, give a little bit of history on what the Neve actually is and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, that sounds fun. I can grab some pictures and, just talk about it. So then I went and like recorded myself saying all that shit. And then I threw it into CapCuts and then I slowly grabbed pictures that I got and stuff like that. And I just like attached it. And, I just kind of went off the vibe of like, this is what I feel like saying about it. This is what whatever. But I think ChatGPT was super correct about the hook because I've never had a post go this viral or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
or and I kind of look back. I'm like, yeah, that the way that it's said like does sound a little snarky or like a way that's like my mixes might be better than yours or whatever. But I'm like, funny enough, that's what chat wrote. And funny enough, it was right that people would get kind of interested in one way or the other, whether they're upset about that or agree with it. And I'm kind of like, okay, interesting. So I don't know. Anyways, I'll say it's exciting. Like for me personally, to I'm blessed as all hell to be able to like play around with and tinker with gear, like and make music, like and actually have time to do that. Like how amazing! There's kids in Africa who can't even get food, right? Like this is whatever. It's just amazing. But secondary, like to also have a purpose and like get information out there and make music and try to like change and help the world in that sense. Like you have to have a presence and people need to know who you are so that you can, when you say something, it's being heard. And it was really exciting for me to like watch like the numbers go up and people are actually watching something that I made. I have songs that have done super super well, but like having a post do kind of well, it feels different. Even like 50,000, it's at like 50,000 views or something right now, the first one. Songs with millions of plays, but it's just a little different when it's like, oh, I put it all together. I did video editing. I don't know shit about video editing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know audio. I don't know video editing. So I thought it was pretty cool, but I will say it also kind of like, it does kind of suck too when a lot of people just shat on it and were just like, oh, like you don't need that, plugins do all that, or like you're an idiot and like you're a retard. And I'm just like, damn, like first off, like no need for that. Like the plugin argument and the workflow thing, sure, I can get behind a little bit of it, but also like it depends what DAW you're in too. Like, yeah, it's a little harder in Ableton, but if you're in Pro Tools, it's super super easy because you have solo safe. Like,
Yeah.
like there's and then I was just like, at the end of the day, you can't make everybody happy in a 3 minute video. Like you only have so much time to talk about something anyways, right? And then like you probably can't even make everybody happy in a 1 hour. I've bought in courses about music production that took me like 15 hours to complete or whatever, and I was still left with like, yeah, that was super helpful in some areas, and in some areas I'm just like, that was bullshit. Like what, like that didn't give me everything I needed.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
so I'm kind of just like sitting here thinking for the next videos and stuff, like, do I want to go with such a like a hardcore like, viral tag that might get people going, or do I want to try to keep it a little bit more like, could I have appeased to those people that are upset more? And I think I'm thinking like, as I'm saying it, I'm just like, no, like they're just gonna be upset either way. Like like I truly stand by everything I said. Like that's the best I can do. I'm not saying that it's like this is the only way to make music. I'm not like nowhere in the video did I say you have to go get a Neve 5057 specifically. You can't get anything else. It has to be this. Like I don't know. I think like if people can't see through that, then that's kind of their problem. But
Hmm.
but anyways, yeah. I feel like it's cool because it also, and like it led me to like chatting with you a little bit too, and like learning that's like, okay, somebody else. And where are you? Finland?
Iceland.
Iceland, all the way in Iceland, it has the same piece of gear that I have because like nobody I know, and I know quite a few people in LA has this. Like,
Okay.
like some people are using the SSL
Where
version of
did you
it.
first see it?
I went to. You ever heard of something called Vintage King?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went over there and I was talking to them about getting the SSL version. I think it was called the Enigma. I could be wrong about that, but it's like some SSL summing unit. And then they were showing me that because I do know some people in LA that were using that. And then they were showing me this Neve 5057, and then they were showing me the Burl unit, which I actually went to a Burl party at East West a while back, more recently, and listened to the difference between Burl and some other converters, and like heard some differences that I liked. But the best thing about the Neve for me was the fact that it had this silk blue and red, whereas the Pro Tools thing didn't really come with that. And the Pro Tools thing also kind of like I don't know, it just seemed a little bit more clunky, and like there was more I was gonna have to do to get it to do the thing. Whereas this is just like set it up, set the outputs out, and it comes back in, and you can't beat the fact that even after all of that, you can just throw on the silk. And like to me, the silk blue is like adding R bass.
Hmm.
And it's just like, well, I would do that to almost any mix anyways, right? So like how easy to just click a button, right? And I feel too with the R bass, how I feel it sounds like R bass. What I don't like about R bass is that again, I have too much control over the sliding frequency. I have the amounts and like the sliding frequency, and like I'm looking at the ratio thing. Like there's just so much going on there where like all of a sudden now we're adding harmonics to like this secondary signal. Whereas I feel with the silk, it's adding the harmonics to what is there. You can't
Yeah,
change
yeah,
that. And I think that it does a better job at pinpointing what's already there and saturating it than R bass. And I've done R bass where like I'll look at the root of my song is in C, and or like A, say it's in A, and I'll like go into the frequency chart and I'll find, okay, what is A? Is it 33 or whatever hertz? All right, I'll set it to 33 hertz or 60 whatever hertz, and I'll just do it properly like that, and it still just doesn't to me sound as good as like just turning on the silk blue and just boosting the bass. And what I've done also, so sometimes what I'll do, you can still see the screen, right?
Yeah.
I've done this sometimes too. I haven't done it lately, but I'll take maybe the vocals and the music, and then I'll print a version of that down, and then I'll take that version and I'll run it through the Silk Red. So I'll kind of get a little bit of Silk Red on my vocals and my music, and then I'll get another printed version down of the Silk Blue for just the kick and the bass.
Oh, nice.
And
That's
then
smart.
now I'm using it a little bit further. And then at that point, I was thinking I already had the summing down, like because it's all going through the circuitry. But I'm looking back at it and realizing no, because the summing is like the sum of everything at once.
Yeah.
It's everything interacting with it with its
Not the
other
same.
channels. So I actually want to try doing that again, but with an extra step of then taking it and running it back into the Neve again with
Mm.
no silk on, no texture, with those three channels already silked.
But at that point, wouldn't it make sense just to buy another 5057 and daisy chain them together?
Probably, yeah, that's probably getting a little like in the weeds, but I will say like that I do think like those are the things that I think people who don't try these are missing out on too is like I might try that and then realize that that's way too intensive. Like that's just too much. But I will learn something from that experience.
Yeah.
I will hear what it did and I'll be like, "Oh, like so that's a new limit to reach." And maybe I won't next time. Maybe I'll say, "Okay, how do I do that in the box?" Right? Because Silk Red could probably be done with just adding a black box to the vocals and music frequencies and distorting those a little bit or saturating them a little bit in like a diode or triode setting. Like I think like there like I do agree with people saying that like plugins can do a lot of what these outboard gear in generally could do. Like even the Neve pre's inside the preamps inside UAD, they sound pretty good. You know, I do think they sound good. But again, I particularly don't use those. I have my own pre right here, and I don't even use a Neve. I use the Mog.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because which this might be my next video. I use the Mog because Dave Pensato said once he's
Definitely,
like,
I was going to say it. I have been thinking about it for years because he prefers the Mac over everything else. I remember
yeah,
that.
that's exactly what got me interested. So I was like, okay, I've worked in at Paramount. I know what a C800 going into a Neve into a CL1B sounds like. I know
Yeah.
what a ELM 250 sounds like going into the same chain. Really, it's always that chain that people want. Or and you could swap the compressor out, sure, for an LA2A or a distress or whatever. But it's that mic and that pre. So then I heard once that Phineas doesn't like using a preamp. He just goes
Mm.
straight to a light compressor. And he said he's like, yeah, because everyone uses the Neve, and I feel like it just colored Billy's voice too much. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like I wouldn't put her on through a Neve
Yeah.
preamp. Like you just want that what she's got, and that's it. You don't want to add to that. She's already going to add a million harmonies. So, anyways, what I did was I just got a C414, which hey, if it's good enough to record pianos and vocals, then it's probably a good mic. So I got that, and I got this Vanguard V13, which is a tube mic, and it's like a $1,000 tube mic. It's not the ELM 250 by any means, but it's tube and it sounds like a tube.
Yeah.
I did get I modded it out with a Telefunken tube for an extra $100, and like when I changed my tube out, but whatever. Like I think it sounds a little better, but whatever. But then I was like, well, now I need it to go through some sort of a pre because I like to have gain control in general. And I was like, well, let's just get the cleanest pre that there is, and that's when I landed on the Mog for me. And I do like how I can. It also has the air function,
Yeah.
so especially when I run the C414 or the 414 through it, it adds this brilliance that I feel the C800 has.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's another good thing. And then after that, I basically just run it through this really small de-esser, which is a DBX 520.
Okay.
You know DBX
Yeah.
series? Yeah, it's like kind of the cheapest, but like super good compressors and shit. They have this de-esser called the 520, which is like amazing. And apparently they used that on a lot of rock records in the 90s and 2000s. And even I guess the 80s maybe. And then after that, it just goes into the I got the distressor because my budget, I didn't have enough to get the CL1B, and I also knew I was gonna want the distressor can do what a CL1B technically, like compression style. It can do that. It can do a LA2A. It can do so much. It's like a Swiss Army knife, right? Does it have the exact sound of the CL1B? No. Does it have the exact sound as this LA2A? No. But what I find is it has an open sound where you could either crush it or you don't. But either way, I truly believe that these mics sound better because, and I'm sure the Mog Pre is doing okay at helping, but even before I got this, I was running it through like a shitty Neve Pre by, it's like a knockoff brand or whatever, Heritage or
Yeah.
something like that. I didn't really love it, but it was like whatever. But the second I ran both these mics through whatever, and then it went through the distressor makes it sound good, even
Mm.
when it's not compressing. The
What
distress.
ratio do you have it on? Like 2 to 1 or?
I have it on. I usually put it on 4-1 if I'm gonna
Yeah.
do like vocals. Obviously drums, I'll like do a channel where I'm nuking something, and then yeah, like two. I mean, I don't know. I play around with the ratio all the time. I play around with the threshold and everything like that. I even play around obviously with the what is it, the detectors, like the little way that the circuits run so you get a little more distortion in the mids or some shit. But in general, even if I'm barely touching it and you can't see any gain reduction happening, I feel like the mics all of a sudden just sound like they're $10,000.
Mm.
To me, it's insane. So, and then I kind of look back at what Phineas said, and it's like, yeah, he's using a one that. I mean, for the beginning of their career, they were using a $1,000 microphone, the Neumann, right? And then
Mm.
like going through, I don't know exactly what compressor they went through, whether it was a distressor or something else, but anyways, just like I think like for me, this mic setup does. I feel like if I needed to get like an Adele vocal, I go to the tube. If I need to get more of a Tate McRae vocal, I'm going to the 414, and then after that, I'm pretty solid. And again, because I've worked at Paramount and I've worked on the C800 and the ELM and all that for so long, it gives me that perspective now that I'm like, okay, I'm close. Is this working? Is this not working? Now I can kind of go off and modify something cheaper. And I feel like that's the same thing with the Neve Orbit is like I can kind of just, make it work for what it is that I need out of it because
Yeah.
I know the reason and what everything did when we had all of those boards at Paramount with like 92 channels or whatever of a SSLG or E series or something, and the funny enough, like they hardly freaking used them, like
Yeah.
they barely used them. I remember the only time I really saw them super super in effect was during the 21 Pilots recordings of their album with like the song Stressed Out and stuff. Their engineer and producer was like, yeah, we're miking everything up. Like Marky Bassy, anytime he came in, like there was definitely a lot of like instruments going on. But for the most part, it was a lot of rappers that came in and just literally didn't even touch the board, and they were just running the mics through the Neve and then like into Pro Tools. So, but then again, I do know a lot of beat makers that were making knocking beats 10 years ago and probably still today. And a lot of those hip hop producers particularly used the Dangerous series for summing. Do you know about the Dangerous series?
Yeah, it's called two something, right?
Yeah,
Dangerous.
yeah. And those guys use and they
Two
swore
bus,
by
yeah.
it. Yeah, because like the end of the day, like I don't know, I true personally I guess what I believe in is summing. And I even believe in it in DAWs. Like I can hear if I start a track in Scratch, you know, that would be a good video I should make. I should like take all these stems that I have in this session in Ableton, and then I
Yeah,
should like put them in directly to Logic and Pro Tools and see what the different sounds are, if there is any
definitely.
different sound. Because a lot of times when people do this null test thing, where it's like, you know, you flip the phase and you see if there's anything left over,
Hmm.
they're doing it with a two bus track. They're like throwing just like a whole song into Ableton, a whole song into Pro Tools, a whole
Mm.
song into Logic that's already finished, and then they're just saying flip the phase on this, and is that going to cancel out? Well, of course it is, because it's the same
Yeah.
waveform. But I do believe if you were to take all those elements and mix them from scratch or introduce them from scratch on each different system, you're gonna hear like I can totally hear it on Logic when I turn the volume knob up and
Hmm.
down. It takes longer to get a result, right? Even just the feel of the GUI, like by clicking it and going up and down, it takes a little longer to get a result, and then all of a sudden the results start hitting really quickly. Whereas in
Okay.
Ableton, I feel like it's super like smooth. Like you could just turn it up and down, and it kind of just goes with the volume. And in Pro Tools, they have their own thing that I can't even explain, but I do like it. But I don't know. I think it's just the way that the faders work and stuff. And then I go back and thinking about when I was at Paramount, and then the senior engineer Tom there, he would come in and clean the faders and stuff once a month on every board, and he would tell me things like, "Oh yeah, like there's modifications that I've done to some of these faders. There's modifications like these two channels right here. Use these for vocals because I have different circuits running through blah blah blah." And like these guys
Mm.
got super deep into modding their boards. Like I thought that was cool. So, anyways, I that's what I believe in is like I do believe that when you start putting summing together of a bunch of different tracks, you can get a different sound, whether it's a different code, whether it's a different circuitry build, whatever. But I do also agree that like yeah, like you put on R bass on something, it's gonna sound like R bass every time.
Hmm.
Like that's what a plugin does. And same with a two bus compressor, right? Like an LA2A is generally gonna sound like an LA2A every time. Yeah, there's different series of it or whatever, and like if you go analog, I've heard the argument, and I hear it, I've heard it through the different rooms at Paramount. Like one LA2A will sound different than the next one Neve will sound better than the next one, blah blah blah. Even these probably these orbits, I'm sure, like look, yours isn't outputting the signal for the LED lights. Like is it affecting the sound? Who knows?
Who
But
knows? Maybe I have it incorrectly set up, but yeah, I will find out someday.
the main thing is if you can hear it, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And even down to when somebody says placebo,
Yeah.
fine, man. If getting a $3,000 guitar makes you feel like you want to play it more and you're going to play it more, you're going to be a better guitarist than the person who stuck with the $100 guitar for 10 years that never played it. Like that's just my thought process, because that's what I did with guitar. Funny enough, like I never invested in a great guitar, and then I would pick it up, I would put it down, and pick it up, put it down, and then you know after 10 years you do learn some things and stuff, and then I make some friends that have really nice guitars, and then one day I felt like I was getting pretty good. I had like a big explosion of getting better at guitar. And then my buddy came over with his like $3,000 whatever, and it was like Fender Stratocaster, blah blah blah. That was and it was like really good. And I was playing it. I was like, damn, this thing really is way smoother.
Mm.
Like it feels better. It like all these things that I never thought about. Like when I picked up an expensive guitar in the early years of playing. Now all of a sudden I notice that's all real.
Yeah.
you know. So, and I was like, shit, I would pick up the guitar more often if it felt like this. But mine's got like, you know, I mean, I've modded mine out since, but like the action was high. Like, anyways, I don't know. I'm just feel like I'm on like this mission of trying to like prove that I know what I'm talking about or whatever. Since all those comments came in, but I think I'm just gonna keep going and making these videos and stuff and just see what happens. Because I'm hoping that at least some people are interested, like, and want to have a chat about it, and I don't know.
You definitely should make that video you were describing where you try differing summings in different programs. And also, I think people would like to see you just start from scratch, just in live, mixing through the 5057, maybe a simple session and where you talk over it and maybe tell people what you are thinking or looking out for and stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I tried it already. I have it on YouTube, and unfortunately, here I'll play it for you so you could actually hear the what's going on. I gotta figure out the internal routing of the computer to make that work. That's the problem. It's not the Neve. It's the computer. So if I go here and I go to my live videos, I think it was this one right here. That was back when it was way too distorted.
Starts getting into.
There we go. So now.
That's how I got this. And then if I want to go back out the box, I turn the main all the way down, the volume.
Where was it?
Main, Neve. But now without the Neve. That's how I got this.
I don't know. When I was listening back to it a couple days ago, I was flamming. Did you hear it flamming? For a second,
Not really.
For a second, it was. I don't know. Let me try
The
again.
computer. I was kicking the every. We're on there. Keep working down. But now without equals or external.
Weird. Well, anyways, I've tried. There's like a couple other problems. Like it was. Remember when I said like my speakers are like super good and like I can push things really hard. That was the first video. It was like way distorted. Let me see. Right? You can hear that just like crunched out to hell. That sounded perfectly fine in my room.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so then I went back and I watched that video. I was like, oh my god, I look like probably an idiot right now. Like, let me fix this one. And I luckily I don't have a big following or anything, so it's like I feel like I can experiment with this stuff and like I don't trip out. So then I went back to try to correct it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's all way too loud. Let me turn it down. See, right there, you could hear it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was that necessarily made that happen. But I do feel it has something to do with how this OBS system is capturing the audio for the video stream and stuff and recording the video. Because I've had problems with that in the past when I don't even use the Neve. Because OBS to me is really confusing, and like for a while there I had dual outputs. Now I'm running the latency of what OBS has to offer with the latency of what Ableton has to offer, and that caused flamming. So I finally figured out how to turn off the second output that I stupidly added at one point because I didn't realize it automatically has an output. Yeah, I'm definitely not good at this. Like, I'm not an expert at this video stuff.
Have you tried using black hole for the routing?
Is that what is black hole? I don't think
It's basically like a network program, app, whatever. So we can route audio from here and there.
Oh, let's see. Let me look it up real quick.
I think it's the same thing as OBS, but
Oh,
Yeah.
for audio, for it's like for audio and streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think Virtual Riot uses that now that I think about it. Yeah, and it seems like it's easier and it's free. I might try that soon. I might switch over to that because it seems like that's the easier system than OBS.
Yeah, I had to get it for my studies because we had to, what were we doing? Route audio between different programs and stuff, and it was super handy.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I remember it was easy to work with.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check that out. I'll definitely I think I use my YouTube live streams as like a playground of just like unfiltered, all my mistakes are available for people to see because I personally believe watching people's mistakes is really important sometimes too. Like I've been a fly in the wall and at Paramount and wherever for years and like some of the biggest learning curves was watching somebody like mess something up and be like, oh, okay, so don't do that. Like so once I'm finished and I finally get this video correct where you can really hear it properly and I've presented it well enough, I'll probably do like a series and I'll just be like running a whole session from scratch through the Neve back. Here's phase one, complete mistake. Don't watch if you don't have time. Phase
Okay.
two, a little bit better, but still a little shaky. Don't watch if you don't have time. Phase three finally got it right. Check it out. And then I'll just like maybe I'll scrape that one out. I'll put it on the actual video page, right, rather than just the live stream page. And then I'll cut it up and maybe make a Instagram
A
post
real.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, real. So, but I feel like why not just show the at this point I'm just like why not just show the process? I feel like it'll help some if it helps just one person like not get frustrated because this stuff like since I've left Paramount years ago now, I've been doing everything myself and like yeah, it's super easy when I'm in the box and I'm just like doing easy work for somebody or like, you know, whatever it is. Like if I'm only producing a track, somebody else has already done the vocals, then we're going to send it to somebody for mixing and blah blah like the job is like I'm good at that shit. But this whole new world of like now getting stuff in and out of different social medias and YouTube and video and stuff, like I feel like I'm just a noob again and like I don't have a place of people I can turn to anymore. Like at Paramount, it was just like, oh man, like this isn't working. Help me. Cool, I'll come help you. Like easy. This is how it's done. Now it's just like I don't know what to do. Like I just got to sit there. Luckily, ChatGPT's around. I can just look up a lot of stuff on there, but a lot of trial and error. So, anyways, I feel like with all these people, like I like to watch like Virtual Riot or Ian Kirkpatrick or like just whoever that's like doing live streams and stuff. I notice they do a lot of like this is my finished song. Let me go through it. I'm like that's
Hmm.
cool and all, but like I want to see like you're even saying the process of like going through the Neve from scratch. But like even further than that, show me the process of when you were distorting it too much and it wasn't making any sense. So when I try to do it and it starts distorting, I don't just like fold and be like, I can never get past this. Because I remember there was times with this Neve too. I was like, it was doing that and I was pissed. I was like, how what the heck? I thought that's what this was for. Like I'm supposed to be able to drive it like this and now I can't. Like what but it's like, yeah, there are some limits to distortion. So, anyways, but yeah, I'll let you know when I get some of these videos up, and then maybe we can have a follow up chat sometime soon. I kind of got to get ready to have some breakfast here soon, but yeah, anything else that you wanted to just kind of like chat about or ask a question about?
Yeah. Thanks for showing me your workflow. It's definitely be eye-opening for me. I need to step my game up. Yeah, I got the device some years ago also, and then just time flew by, and I wasn't using it for a while. Then I started to use it again pretty recently, and yeah, I just have been using it, like we said, just as a coloration box, basically at the end. It always adds something to the mix, in my opinion, even though it's like half a percent. It's when I'm checking it out uh, with and without, and I gain states everything. I tend to prefer it, but I definitely will be heading towards working like you are doing right now, with more, how do you say it? With the routing more on lock and using its capabilities more, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, let me know too, and keep the conversation open about how it's working for you and stuff too. And yeah, like don't I mean that's the same thing with me, man. Like I was doing the same thing for a while there. I was like running it just as a two bus. I was like I put it down for a while and stopped using it for a while. Then I came back to it, but it's like again, that's what it's like when you're not at a major studio where everyone's doing that all the time and somebody can just
Yeah,
come
yeah.
over and be like, "Hey, check this out. Did you know you can do it this way?" Or, like this that's why I think this is important, like having these conversations. Like now you're seeing my workflow, like go give it a shot, and if it's not working out, send me a message and be like, yo, why is like I tried it, this isn't working. Or like I'll even give suggestions if you have the time, because I'm gonna try it too. But like I have not tried this in Logic yet. I don't know if you do dabble in other DAWs or not, but like
Yeah, I also have Logic.
yeah,
I also have
maybe it'll work
FL.
better in Logic than both. Maybe it's the perfect meld between the Pro Tools workflow and the Ableton workflow is Logic. So
Yeah,
I don't know when I'll get around to trying that, but I'll let you know when I do.
looking forward, man.
Cool, man. Well, I gotta go, and I'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
Yeah, have a nice one.
You too. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.